Major General Sarah Miller, a decorated veteran of the U.S. Army, had finally set aside a rare day off to enjoy some much-needed retail therapy. At 42, with her close-cropped hair streaked with silver, she carried an unmistakable air of authority and discipline. Dressed in a simple tracksuit and comfortable sneakers, Sarah blended effortlessly into the bustling weekend crowd at the upscale Westfield Mall. After 2 decades of service, leading troops through treacherous war zones and brokering tense peace treaties, today's mission was refreshingly simple: find a good pair of running shoes and maybe grab a smoothie afterward. As she browsed through the latest athletic footwear at a high-end store, she couldn't help but notice a few lingering stares. It wasn't unusual for her presence to turn heads. Her confident stance had that effect. But these glances felt different. There was an undercurrent of suspicion, something that made her uneasy. Shaking off the feeling, she continued shopping, unaware that her every move was now being watched. Officer Troy Becket had just entered the mall. A middle-aged cop with a hardened exterior, he was infamous for his snap judgments and an even faster trigger finger. There were plenty of complaints about his history of racial profiling, but the department had always managed to sweep them under the rug. Today, though, Becket was off duty. Dressed in jeans and a plain white t-shirt, he still made sure his badge and pistol were prominently displayed on his hip. As he walked past the store, his gaze locked onto Sarah. Something about her, maybe the upright posture, maybe the way she carried herself, immediately set off alarms in his mind. To Becket, she didn't look like someone who belonged in an upscale mall. Instead of moving along, he lingered near the entrance, pretending to check his phone while keeping a sharp eye on her, his mind racing with assumptions. Unaware of his scrutiny, Sarah finally picked out a pair of shoes and made her way to the register. The young cashier flashed a nervous smile as he rang up her purchase. Sarah handed over her credit card, waiting for the transaction to process, but something felt off. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught sight of Becket standing outside, staring at her intently. A wave of unease crept in. Still, she brushed it aside. The moment she stepped out of the store, bag in hand, Becket moved directly into her path. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice gruff. "I need to ask you a few questions." Sarah arched an eyebrow. "Is there a problem, officer?" "You were acting kind of suspicious in there," Becket replied, his hand resting on his holster. "Mind telling me what you were up to?" Years of experience handling high-pressure situations had sharpened Sarah's patience, but it was wearing thin. "I was buying shoes," she said coolly, lifting the bag. "Is that a crime?" Beckett's eyes narrowed. "Let me see some ID." Sarah's expression didn't waver. "Why?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "Have I done something wrong?" Beckett's fingers tightened around his gun. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." And that's when it hit her. This wasn't about her actions. It was about the color of her skin. Her heart sank, but she stood her ground. "Officer," Sarah said, her voice steady, "I'm going to ask you to step back. I haven't done anything wrong, and I won't be treated like a criminal just for shopping." But Becket wasn't listening. His mind was already made up. In a flash, his hand went to his weapon, his gun now drawn and aimed directly at Sarah. The entire mall seemed to freeze. People turned, eyes wide with shock. Mothers instinctively pulled their children close, while store employees peeked nervously from behind counters. Sarah's heart pounded, but she refused to let fear take over. Years of military training kicked in. She slowly raised her hands, locking eyes with Becket. "Drop the bag," he barked. Sarah let the shopping bag slip from her fingers, the sound of it hitting the floor lost in the heavy silence. "Officer, you're making a mistake," she said, her voice unwavering. "Don't tell me what I'm doing." Becket snapped. "Get on the ground." Sarah hesitated. Kneeling meant complete submission, and she wasn't about to give him that satisfaction. "Officer," she said, her tone sharp with authority, "I am Major General Sarah Miller of the United States Army. I suggest you lower your weapon." For a brief moment, Becket faltered. There was something in her voice, undeniable authority. But prejudice still clouded his judgment. "Yeah, right," he scoffed. "Get on the ground or else." "Or else what?" A new voice cut through the tension. A young man stepped forward, phone raised high, recording everything. She just said she's a general, dude. You're pointing a gun at a hero. Beckett's face flushed crimson. Get out of here, he barked, but the damage was already done. More people pulled out their phones, capturing the scene from every angle. Sarah saw her opportunity. Officer Becket, she said coolly, reading his name from his badge. You're about to make the biggest mistake of your career. Stand down. Becket hesitated, his hand trembling on the gun. The murmurs from the crowd grew louder. Do you even know who you're pointing that gun at? Someone shouted. Just then, mall security arrived. 2 guards rushed in, their faces pale as they took in the scene. What's going on here? One of them demanded. Becket remained silent. Sarah, however, didn't hesitate. This officer pulled a gun on me for no reason, she stated firmly. I want to speak to a supervisor. Within minutes, the mall manager arrived, followed closely by a police captain who had been shopping nearby. Captain Denise Harper, a middle-aged black woman, took one look at Sarah and her jaw dropped. General Miller? She exclaimed, hurrying over. What in the world is going on here? In a few precise sentences, Sarah explained the situation, her voice calm but unwavering. Captain Harper turned to Becket, fury flashing in her eyes. Holster your weapon, Officer Becket, she commanded. Becket hesitated, but Harper's voice carried absolute authority. Reluctantly, he obeyed. Turning back to Sarah, Harper's face softened. I am so sorry, General. This is completely unacceptable. Sarah gave a small nod. It is, and I expect it to be dealt with. The fallout was swift. The video of the encounter went viral, igniting outrage across the country. News outlets picked up the story, dragging Beckett's history of racial profiling into the spotlight. Within a week, Becket was suspended without pay, pending a full investigation. Meanwhile, Sarah received an overwhelming wave of support from the public and her fellow service members. In a powerful interview, she stated, "This isn't just about me. It's about the countless others who don't have the rank or platform to stand up for themselves. This has to stop." Her story became a rallying cry for justice, a stark reminder of the dangers of racial profiling and the urgent need for accountability. Major General Sarah Miller's experience serves as a sobering indictment of discrimination and abuse of power, particularly within law enforcement. It proves that no matter one's rank or achievements, Black individuals can still be unfairly targeted. But her courage, her refusal to back down, has inspired many. This moment also highlights the power of community, the role of bystanders, and how social media can be a crucial tool in holding those in power accountable. In the end, it was the videos recorded by ordinary citizens that forced the truth into the open, pressuring authorities to act.